Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Vicharine. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Thai Guru Pimane. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. So we will continue with the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and I wanted to seek the good wishes and the blessings of the devotees so that we can offer some appreciation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the gift, transcendental gift He's given us of the nectar of the Bhagavad Gita. So before we dive into the 18th chapter, this is a wonderful offering given by one of the academics in America. Can you read this?
Swami Bhaktivedanta has offered a great service with his English translation and commentary on the great Upanishadic scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. This presentation, with its many beautiful color pictures, is truly an inspired work. Dr. Judith Dreiberg, founder, director, East West Culture Center in Los Angeles, and professor of Sanskrit at Goddard College.
Thank you. Okay, so yesterday we looked at two themes of the Bhagavad Gita up to text number 40. The first being Arjuna is asking a question about renunciation or tyag. And Krishna explains to him that one should never renounce one's duties, but by performing one's duties in the proper manner, one is actually considered to be a sannyas. So then it also described again how the three modes of material nature work, and in particular in connection with knowledge, action, the worker, understanding, determination, and religion. And Krishna was guiding us. This is the roadmap to how to live in this world, guiding us how to conduct such activities in at least in the mode of goodness. So now the third theme, Krishna describes varnashram, or the varna aspect of dharma. So I wanted to ask who would like to read.
Can Chitra read, Prabhu?
Yes, Chitra, very good.
Text 41. Brahmanas, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra are distinguished by the qualities born in their own natures, in accordance with material modes, or chastiser of the enemy. Text 42. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahman work. Text 43. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriya. Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for the Vaishya, and for the Shudra they are labor and service to others. By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done. Text 46. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all-pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. Text 48. Every endeavor is covered by some fruit, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault. Text 49. One who is self-controlled and unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyments, can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. Text 50. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage. Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge by acting in the way I shall now summarize. Text 51 to 53. Being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred, one who lives in a secluded place, who eats little, who controls his body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance and who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship, and peaceful, such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization. Text 54. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living being. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Text 55. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you very much for reading that so nicely, Chitra. So there's a lot in this theme. In fact, every verse we can spend perhaps hours or discussing, because there's so much information, so much guidance given by Krishna in every single verse. But we are just doing a sort of a summary overview of the different themes in the Bhagavad Gita, so we won't go into so much detail, but just a couple of things I wanted to mention. How he explains, even if one does one's duty imperfectly, it's better to do what is according to one's nature, rather than do somebody else's work, somebody else's duties perfectly even, because it's not our nature to do those duties. So we are crossing boundaries. And then he also describes so nicely that every endeavor is covered with by some fault. And especially in Kali Yuga, that is even more pronounced. So we are expected to be aloof and unattached workers. But in reality, we have a conditioned nature which is influenced by the three modes. And that implicates us into worldly life. So Krishna then describes this varnashram system, especially the varna system. He's talking about the different classes where one can engage oneself in different types of work. And these are classified into 4 different varnas, classes. The Brahman, intellectual class, the Kshatriyas, the warriors and the administrators, the Vaishya, some mercantile, the business class, and then Shudra, the laborers, workers. Every society is effectively molded through these 4 classes. Even a classless, apparently, society, perhaps Russia or China, they want to advertise themselves as being classless. But actually, there still are the intellectuals, the professors. There still are the army people. You can't have a society without the police and the administrators. And there, of course, will be businessmen and those who work. So every society will contain these 4 types of classes. Of course, in Bharat, that was misused and turned into a polluted caste system where one was perhaps not having a certain nature, but because you were born in a certain caste, you regarded to be in that caste. But that's not actually how caste, this varnashram system works. According to one's nature, one will be in a particular class. So if one is born a Shudra, but his nature is that of a Brahmin, then he's regarded to be a Brahminical, in the Brahminical caste. And that's how it should work. It's a natural, it depends on your natural abilities. So then Krishna explains, of course, one should not artificially imitate another man's duty, but rather embrace what is natural and inborn. By engaging our nature and discharging work in a spirit of God consciousness, we purify ourselves of material propensities and live a happy and peaceful life. So even in this world, we can live within this varnashram system, and in a God-conscious manner, we can lead a spiritual life. So the lesson to learn from this particular theme is that to understand what is this varnashram system and how does it apply to us individually and collectively. So these are the four classes: the Brahmins, or the teachers, and the priests, if you like. Generally, they're situated in the mode of goodness. That's what makes them Brahmins. Then the next class is the Kshatriyas. They are the warriors, and naturally they predominantly will have the mode of passion, although there's a tinge of the mode of goodness within them, but predominantly is passion. Similarly, the businessman will be mode of passion, the Vaish, and Shudras is regarded generally to be in the mode of ignorance. So this is how these qualities distinguish between the four classes. And that's Varna. Ashram. Ashram is where one is a brahmachari for the first maybe 25 years of one's life. One would be celibate. And then grahastha, the next 25 years. And then you would have a semi-retired state of vanaprastha, and where you don't have so many family duties, but you are focused on spirituality, perhaps traveling in the Holy Lands. And then the final stage, which is sannyas, where one gives up all material connections and just focuses one's life on spirituality. That would be from perhaps the age of 75 onwards. Of course, not many people get to that sort of age. But if one works according to varnashram and one is focused on the Supreme Lord, then one does not necessarily need to take to the sannyas ashram. And especially in Kali Yuga, Vyasadeva has actually condemned it, saying that it's not really something that should take place in Kali Yuga. Prabhupada gave sannyas. He took sannyas himself. His spiritual master also took sannyas, and he gave sannyas to some of his disciples. But the purpose of that was for preaching, so that this Krishna consciousness movement can be spread far and wide. Otherwise, there is no need to take sannyas in this age of Kali Yuga. One can achieve sannyas through one's activities in Krishna consciousness, because those activities will be regarded as renouncing any material enjoyment. So that's important to understand. It's important to accept and query if one has any doubts about this varnashram system. So, Madhusun Babu, would you like to make any comments?
Hey, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Yeah. It's nice, this varna and the varnas in the ashrams, they are prescribed by the Supreme Lord. They are under natural divisions. And I think somewhere in the Bhagavad Gita or in purports, Prabhupada explains that like it's parts of a body. You have the head, you have the arms, you have the stomach, and you have the legs. And each one has their own different function, you know. So like, for example, you know, the stomach is nature is to be productive, you know, and disseminate food and break down and distribute and all that. So it's a productive class, and that's like the Vaishyas. And they, you know, and then the legs and the Sudras, you know, arms and legs, they have to be protective, protecting the body, you know, that. So they're like the Kshatriyas, and the head is what is the Brahminical, you know, kind of class. So all parts have to work together in order for the body to remain quite healthy and go in the right direction as well, and to direct the body to go in a certain way. But then, like you said, you know, in Kali Yuga, you know, it's become more or less like a headless society. You know, the Brahminical class has been contaminated with more of material education and material intelligence, and these classes will be there all the time anyway. There is the Kshatriyas, the police force and the army and everything, and then the politicians and all that. But like I say, it's just become a bit corrupted in Kali Yuga. There is no perfect varnashram system as well. And in one's particular life, the ashrams, like we have to be situated in a brahmachari ashram, you know, up to the age of 25 is a student life. One has to study, develop intelligence. But real brahmacharis are really to study the Vedas and develop that intelligence. But if the inclination is not there, and you know, they're more inclined toward practical work and all that, so then that should be encouraged. It's no good, you know, like it says, it's better to do your duty imperfectly than try to do somebody else's duty perfectly, and try to do something which is not according to your nature. So, you know, the ashrams are there to help one progress in life from brahmachari to grihastha and then to sannyas, but sannyas is not recommended. In the previous ages, even the kings would abandon their kingdom and all that, and then go into vanaprastha, and they would go into the forest and meditate and take sannyas and detach themselves from all material and focus on the spiritual aspects. But it's not possible nowadays in Kali Yuga. Everything is topsy-turvy, you know. The Sudras are running the show. So where is the society going to go, you know? If the Vaishyas are not kind of properly trained, the mass farming going on, and the politicians are controlling the farms and production and cow. There's no cow protection at all. In fact, there's more cow slaughter than anything. So Kali Yuga, everything is so topsy-turvy. But like you say, you know, Brahman's son doesn't become automatically a Brahman. It's like a doctor's son doesn't automatically become a doctor. He has to go and train himself, and according to the merit, then he develops and he can become a doctor. But so, you know, it's better to do the duties that way. So then, like the one verse where it says, you know, like the fire is covered by smoke. So every kind of occupation or duty that we do will have a certain amount of material contamination, you know. Kshatriyas, for a Kshatriya, the smoke, although fire is pure, you know, it doesn't get contaminated because there is smoke there. So like Kshatriya, he by his nature is Kshatriya, but killing is like the smoke, you know, for a Kshatriya. Killing is not the thing he wants to do, but it's still not good. For sometimes Brahmins have to do certain activities which are not conducive to their Brahminical nature, because they're meant to be peaceful and all that, but sometimes they need to do sacrifices or certain. Yeah, so same thing like Vaishyas have to, you know, do their profit, and they hide their profit, and in the purport he's saying they might have to do some black market business or something like that, you know, which is, you know, sometimes they have to do, you know, Shudras will have to work for bosses that really might be very intolerant, but still they have to tolerate that and do that work, and obey the orders of the bosses and the masters. So this is how it is. But once we're doing some work in Krishna consciousness and do our prescribed duties, and according to that, and then we're not contaminated by it, our duties has to be performed. So this is quite a nice part, where you've broken this down into the slide here, which shows the 4 varnas and the ashrams. It's good to try and understand that, but Kali Yuga is not so contaminated. So just by being in any situation in our life, if we're just Krishna conscious, then we are performing our duty and we're not bound by the actions that much.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that. And a very nice point you made about the body, how it needs all the different parts to cooperate, just like that.
The hands can't independently.
Right. Yeah.
They can't independently start working differently.
And it's not we're saying that one class is superior to the other class.
No.
So similarly, it's not that the hands are more important than the head, or the legs are more important than the head. But of course, without the head, the body can't function at all. Without the legs and the hands, the body can still do something. But everything is needed, and every class, every part of the body is important.
It's to work in harmony, though. Yeah.
So, any questions, any comments on this particular theme of the Bhagavad Gita?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sanjana.
Just to clarify, with the you know how they have all the different modes for each varna,
Yes.
but then if they started working in Krishna consciousness, they would transcend the mode generally associated with the varna, right?
Yes, that's right. Because then one is going into the mode of pure goodness.
Yeah. Okay.
That's correct. So basically, that's what Krishna's basically guiding us to, is to come to that platform, but he's not expecting us to come to that platform straight away. That's why he's described the 3 modes in a lot of detail. In the Bhagavad Gita, about 100 verses are dedicated to the 3 modes of material nature, because he knows everybody will be at a different stage in their lives. So what he's trying to do is just get us to the next stage, the higher stage. So if we're in ignorance, come to at least the mode of passion. If we're in passion, come at least to the mode of goodness. But then Krishna explains quite a lot about the mode of pure goodness, which is effectively bhakti yoga, which is where we need to be situated in order to understand him and be with him. So he does that in a gradual way. And but you're absolutely right. If one is situated in the mode of, if one is in Krishna consciousness, then you're in the mode of pure goodness. Does that make sense, Sanjana? Might have lost the connection. Any other questions? Any other comments? Bhavani?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Here I got it out about, yes, these Varnashrama dharmas, is it based on the behavior or characteristics of a person? It should be based on the caste they born? Caste is different from Varnashrama, isn't it?
Yes, very nice question. It's our nature, our characteristics will determine what varna we are in. So if one acts like he's a good organizer, he's strong, likes to defend or fight even, then perhaps his nature is inclined towards that of a Kshatriya, a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Administrator. So that would be his, if you like, his caste. But we don't like using this caste
Yeah.
because it's just so polluted.
Polluted, yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's so
I think
polluted.
it's a word, Varna.
Varna, yeah, a class system. In fact, I would say the UK, perhaps America, is quite well situated in terms of, because according to your ability, according to your characteristics, you would naturally incline to act, and you would be
Yeah.
accepted as such.
Yeah.
You would be accepted as such. And most, of course, unfortunately, most people tend to act in the lowest class, you know, the Shudra class. But so be it. This is Kali Yuga, you know.
Yeah, exactly, Prabhuji, because the caste system is absolutely polluted everywhere. I won't say particularly anywhere, in the world, wherever you take, it's absolutely, we can't comment on that. We know it. We know the situation. So yeah, it's so the varnas, these are based on the characteristics. So
Yeah.
if one realize who they belongs in Krishna conscious, so is it better accept and go ahead according to his nature and character, and after this, what next step? Like once we
Yes.
realize which varna we belong to, then
Yeah.
what's the next step of a progress? Do we
Okay.
have to carry on with those?
Yes. I mean, that's what Krishna is recommending, that you act
Okay.
according to your varna. But
Okay.
but when you act in Krishna consciousness, so say, for example, one is a good organizer, right? One likes to organize, and one likes to defend and fight, where there's a requirement. One can do all of that in that varna system, but one can do it as a service to Krishna. So if you like to organize, we can organize the preaching movement. Where are we going to preach tomorrow? What are we going to preach? If we like to, if we're strong, we can defend the temple. If there's any difficulties, then we're always there to help.
Yeah.
So we can use our natural qualities in the service of the Lord, and that is the best. Because if you ask a Brahmin, one who is intellect, go and collect money.
Collect 1 lakh.
Go and collect
1 lakh.
100,000. He'll be thinking, whoa, what to do? But you ask him to find a verse in the scriptures, and he'll be, whoa, yes, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
He'll act according to his nature. And this is the beauty of Varnashram. You will be acting according to your nature, but pointed towards the Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, because I mean, like you have an example of like I think Nabi's mentioned this story before. You have you had an army man, and then he became a devotee. So basically, in the material aspect, he was a Kshatriya, but once he joined, the Krishna consciousness, he changed to become a Brahmin, and he was a preacher. So but you can still, he's probably still has that Kshatriya blood in him. So if he could still stand up and defend the devotees, or Krishna or Krishna's temple. But now he's changed to become more of a preacher. So sometimes you can change what your material inkling is as well.
As long as it's in the service
That's right.
of the Lord.
Yes. That's why I was saying, once you join Krishna consciousness, you could change that.
And I think, Nabi, if I can briefly make a comment that, in the modern kind of Western education system, everybody is kind of driven towards becoming an academic. And there's no like distinction, but by naturally it starts to break down. Everybody is forced to take exams and GCSE and this and that. But somebody is not inclined towards academics, but he is more practically inclined, then he should be encouraged to develop
Yeah.
his practical abilities. And that's what the danger is, that, you know, the education system doesn't learn or doesn't actually guide and teach the individuals to actually exploit and enhance their own natural abilities and to distinguish.
Yeah, yeah.
And everybody becomes very confused then, you know. So what am I really good at? You know, by the time they get to teenage and all that, they're just as confused as anybody, and then say, oh, should I become a doctor, when his inclination is towards craft and practical work, and maybe you'd make a better mechanic than a politician, if you know what I mean, you know. So everybody's kind of get confused. And in India, like you mentioned, the caste system is so manipulated, you know,
Yeah.
to gain advantage over other people, and saying, well, you're a Sudra, you're untouchable. You know, I'm a Brahmin son, I'm a Brahmin. But I know of a family here who call themselves, we are from the Brahmin community, but really they're doing Sudra work, you know, they're doing business, or they're Vaishya work, and they're doing a business, but they claim to be of Brahminical quality. They don't even study the Shastras properly, so they can't even call themselves Brahmins, you know. So that's why Prabhupada encouraged to set up a Gurukul system where they teach the children and the gurus, and they understand that the students that come, their qualities are according to their different personalities and different modes of material nature. So if he's, like Nabi said, you know, if somebody's more inclined towards Kshatriya, he will naturally become more like a soldier, and he'll have, you know, he'll be good at the exercises and defensive, naturally inclined, you know, he'll know judo, he'll be very good at judo and karate and all that, pick up that easily, then turn out like Bruce Lee. But try to make him into a Brahmin, and where his inclination is towards, it won't work. That's why Prabhupada said, you know, in the purport, Krishna is saying, you know, it's better to do your duty imperfectly than try to do somebody else's being a perfect, you know. So like Mataji, you know, gave the example of a soldier. You know, he was a soldier, but then you might not suit him, but later on he learned the Krishna conscious, you know, literature. He came across Krishna consciousness, and he's developing that part of his life, and hopefully he enhances in that. So this distinction is to be made very early in one's life at in school age. You know, some kids are more, as a school teacher and I've been in education for a long time, I used to see that. I said, why is everybody being forced to go to university and go and turn out into an academic, when really he would become better at crafts and art and something else, which is his natural tendency. Later on, maybe, you know, they realize, you know, so I would have been a better musician, you know, but my parents forced me to be an engineer, you know. So that's how it is, you know. But fortunately, we've been learning how to become Krishna conscious by learning Bhagavad Gita here and all that, and then acting in any platform in our life. Whatever qualities we have, Prabhupada encouraged those who are good at organizing, engage them. Those who are artists, he engaged them as well. So Prabhupada, being an acharya, could understand different qualities in different people and engage them in Krishna's service. And they became very good, you know.
Good.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Bhavani, you happy with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Nabi Prabhu and Mataji, and
Madhusudan, yeah.
the Madhusudan Prabhuji. Thank you. Yes, I totally agree.
Good, good. Any other comments? Any other questions? It's a very important part of the Gita to try to understand. Okay, if not, we can move into the final theme, and that is a really extraordinary theme, actually. Who'd like to read? Any volunteers?
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So text 56. Though engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. Text 57. In all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotion service, be fully conscious of me. Text 58. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. Text 59. If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. Text 60. Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction, but compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti. 61. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjun, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. 69. O skin of Bharat, surrender upon me utterly. By his grace, you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. 63. Thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. Text 64. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Text 65. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Text 66. Abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Text 67. This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. Text 68. For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. Text 69. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. Text 70. And I declare that he who studies the sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence. Text 71. And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell. Text 72. O son of Pritha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled? Text 73. Arjun said, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt and am prepared to act according to your instructions. Text 74. Sanjay said, thus I have heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjun. And so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. Text 75. By the mercy of Vyas, I have heard these most confidential talks, directed from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjun. Text 76. O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjun, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment. Text 77. O king, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and rejoice again and again. Text 78. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, wherever there is Arjun, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. At the end of chapter 18, Moksha Upadhish Yoga, and the end of Bhagavad Gita.
Hare Krishna. Of course, Bhagavad Gita never ends, but Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
So this is, what can you say? It's really extraordinary. It doesn't do any justice, us spending 15 or 20 minutes on this, but what to do? This is just the most extraordinary instructions that Krishna gives. This is the Paramam Vacha, he says, my final instructions to you, the most confidential knowledge, especially 64, he says that. I'm giving you now the most confidential knowledge. And then this verse, he explains it twice, almost the same verse in chapter 9, 34, I think. And again, it's chapter 1865. He says, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage unto me. You will come to me without fail. I promise you this, because you are my very dear friend. And then the most famous verse probably is Sarva Dharma Parityaja. Abandon all varieties of religion. Surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Of course, that you might think a little strange. Why is he saying abandon all varieties of religion? He's basically explaining that one should just come to him and he will give full protection. Different types of religions may be there, but ultimately he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the aim of all of our religious, all of our worship. So if we just surrender to him, then he will give us full protection. So just in conclusion, all the activities, practices, elements of spirituality are ultimately aimed at achieving pure love of God. Highest realization in transcendental knowledge is to re-establish one's eternal loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada has summed this up really very nicely. He's written so many wonderful purports. This is one of my favorites in 1865. The most confidential part of knowledge is that one should become a pure devotee of Krishna. Always think of him and act for him. This is basically what Krishna is. The summary of Bhagavad Gita is always remember him, never forget him. Two simple instructions, but of course we need a little bit more, because simple is never enough for us. We always need a little bit more. So one should not become an official meditator. Life should be so molded that one will always have the chance to think of Krishna. So in our daily life, our screensaver can be Krishna. So many different things can remind us of Krishna. Our passwords can be Krishna, XOR 108. You can easily break into a devotee's email because you know the password. One should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. He should arrange his life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours, he cannot help but think of Krishna. And the Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such pure Krishna consciousness will certainly return to the abode of Krishna, where he will be engaged in this association of Krishna face to face. There was also the verse in the previous theme, 1855, Bhakti Amam Bijanati, one can only know Krishna by pure devotional service. So this is very, very important. Always trying to remember Krishna, placing ourselves in a situation where we are always remember him. When we go to Bharat, we see the rickshawalas, they would have taken off the speedometer dial and put Krishna's picture there. So they'll be driving around thinking about Krishna all the time. So we can do the same. We can try to mold our lives so that we are always thinking of Krishna. But the lesson I wanted to share really with the devotees was a different one. Krishna says that one who hears the Bhagavad Gita is very important. One who tries to understand the Bhagavad Gita is very, very good. Beyond that, living the Gita is important. But there's something even more important than living the Gita, and that is sharing the Gita. So, and this is what he says if you see these verses here. These verses, I remember when I first read them, I was thinking, right, this is it. This is the secret of becoming close to Krishna. One who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. At the end, he will come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he. Nor will there ever be one more dear. These are pretty emphatic statements by Krishna. Why is he giving so much importance to the preacher? Is because we are like the lost children. And when the lost children are again reunited with the family. The father and the mother become so happy with the children, but they are even more happier with the person who's brought the children back home to them. And that's why Krishna is very happy with the preacher. That's why he's very happy with Prabhupada, because Prabhupada's given us this wonderful gift of Krishna consciousness. So really what I wanted to say was the lesson I wanted to share, which is the final one, the most important lesson, is understand the philosophy, live the philosophy. So to understand it, one has to hear it, one has to learn it, live the philosophy. So that means to put it into practice, into our daily life. And the most important, spread it, share it with others. Share it from the rooftops. You can shout it out because it's so important. And it pleases Krishna. That's the most important thing. It pleases Krishna. So if we can share this Bhagavad Gita with others, on the streets we can distribute the Gita. With the devotees we can converse about the Gita. Then our lives will be perfect. As Krishna says, there's no one more dear to me than one who shares, who reveals the secrets of the Bhagavad Gita to others. So understand the philosophy, live the philosophy, and spread the philosophy. Very important. So we've been very fortunate to go through the Bhagavad Gita, and I'm sure every one of you will have got a lot out of it, because that is the nature of the Gita. Every time you read it, you're going to get a lot more out of it. So don't keep it to yourself. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Give it to others. Live it, of course. Put it into practice in your own lives. But share it as well. Very, very important. Mother Sunpal?
Haribol, Hare Krishna. Yeah, well, can't believe we've finally come to the last verse, and it's amazing, you know, that we've shared these sessions, and with all of you taking part, and this final bit is how we can mold our life with Krishna in the center. And that's what Prabhupada was saying, that you don't have to give up anything. Although Krishna says, you know, sarva dharma paritraja, you know, mamekam sharanam braj, abandon all varieties of religion. But that sometimes we think we don't have to give up anything and all that. We don't have to stop being anything in life and all that. Just add Krishna in our life. And then make Krishna the center of our life. Then we've understood the essence of Bhagavad Gita, really. And sometimes it's confusing, you know, how can we give up all varieties of religions? Well, religion and dharma are two different things, actually. You know, sometimes when we mention the word religion, you know, think, oh, this is mainstream religions like, oh, Christian, Buddhist, or Hindu, or Muslim, or this and that. These are all man-made designations sometimes. So that's what, there are other man-made designations. You know, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm American, I'm white, I'm gray, I'm all this nonsense, you know, all these. And I'm a school teacher, and I'm a businessman, and I'm a warrior, and I'm this and that. And that's also comes under the umbrella of sort of religions or dharmas, which we think with our duties. That's what Krishna is referring. Stopping all that, you know, realize that you are part and parcel of me in a spiritual sense. And although you might have this sense of this, we have this sense of false proprietorship, where Krishna is the real proprietor. So we give that misconceptions, you know, these misconceptions are what holds us here in illusion. And Bhagavad Gita is understood the way Arjun then finally reacts to it, that all my illusion is dispelled now. And I've regained my memory, and I know what my duty is. And then he's just focused on Krishna, and he carries on his duty, always putting Krishna in the center, making him his charioteer. So like that, you know, one of my prayers is sometimes is that, you know, every day I say, Krishna, you know, I hand over the reins of my life and surrender unto your lotus feet. You be the guide of my life as well, just like in Arjun. So, you know, this is it. This is it. That's what my prayer is sometimes. And then with the mercy of Prabhupada, and, you know, we've been guided, fortunately, by so many other wonderful devotees, you know, and then this real, not really an exercise, but like a study group that we've had for last so many weeks, going through Bhagavad Gita. It's been a pleasure and it's been an honor to have shared my realization, and I've also learned a lot from this. Every time, like I said, Gita, Bhagavad Gita is ever fresh. Krishna is ever fresh. He's ever present. He is ever omnipotent, omnipresence, whatever you want to call it. But Krishna is Krishna. He is an avatari. So I'm glad, and thank you very much, all of you. You know, you've come to this final bit, and thank you, Navi, for these sessions.
No, thank you. Thank you for your realizations, and your contribution has been very, very good. So I'd like to appreciate all that.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you, mention to devotees is, before we take any questions, this point you made very nicely, actually, that Krishna says to Arjun that, okay, I've explained everything to you, and now it's up to you what you want to do. He doesn't force. We always have the choice of whether we want to go towards him or away from him or stay where we are. And that's the beauty of the Lord. But of course, our interest lies in becoming close to Krishna. So I wanted to ask the devotees any questions that you may have on this final theme, or any points, any realizations that you'd like to share.
Hopefully
Hare
this
Krishna
is,
Prabhu.
yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Go on.
I would like to thank Prabhu Madhusudan, Mataji Jayanti. Thank you very much. You have spent wonderful time listening to Bhagavad Gita with all of you. And it's the first time that Chitra has listened to the whole Bhagavad Gita. So thank you very much.
Great. How have you found it, Chitra?
She's coming.
Chitra actually did a presentation on chapter 3 as part of the youth presentation. That was very nice. So we want to actually encourage, and youth means anybody who's over the age of 13 and under the age of 100. And since most of us are only 21, I would actually like to encourage everybody to take part. Thank you, Chitra. How have you found the Gita?
I learned a lot. I've
That's good.
understood much more now
Yes.
about the
Yeah.
philosophy.
Yes. Very nice. So everybody can take learn a little bit more, because when you have to do a presentation, you have to really learn a lot more, because you want to speak about Krishna consciousness. So you have to know a lot. Now, I would say Bhagavad Gita is a really transcendental scripture, because Krishna is actually summarizing the whole of Vedic philosophy in just 700 verses, even less. But it's only the beginning. It's only the ABC. And if I can give you a little hint of why it's only the ABC. There was one time Arjuna and Krishna were in the forest, and Krishna arranged a leela for Arjuna. He said to Arjuna, I'm thirsty, go and get some water and fruits for me. So Krishna rested and Arjun went in search of fruits in the forest and water. He came across a sadhu's ashram. He went inside and he saw the sadhu, which is very unusual. He was sharpening an arrow or two. So Arjun asked him, "What are you doing? You're a sadhu. Why are you sharpening an arrow?" "Well, this one is for Draupadi." He was saying in anger. "And this one is for Arjun," not knowing that Arjun was in front of him. Arjun started shaking and he actually fell to the ground. He was wondering what's going on here. Forgot about the collecting the fruits because he knew the power of the sadhus. In the meantime, Krishna was waiting. Arjun didn't come. So Krishna started looking for Arjun. Came to the sadhu's ashram. And he asked, what was happening here? "Well, nothing's happening. Arjun then came to his senses and he said to Krishna, the sadhu's got 2 arrows from Draupadi and myself." "Oh," so then Krishna asked the sadhu, "What's Draupadi done? That's wrong. Look at the answer. When Draupadi was naked," the sadhu said, when she was born, she was naked. But she disturbed Krishna and she compelled him to give her an endless sari just to protect her chastity. And the sadhu said, "We are meant to serve Bhagwan, not to disturb him for our own service." So then Krishna asked, "Okay, what's the fault of Arjun?" The sadhu said, he made Krishna his chariot driver, and he told him to massage his horses, give him grass and water. Is this friendship? He has no respect for Bhagwan, so I will kill him. The status of the sadhu is extraordinarily elevated because he is simply concerned for the service of Krishna, not to disturb Krishna. So Arjun, he could understand, you have deep love for the Lord. I'm very proud I was very proud considering myself to be Krishna's nearest and dearest. But I always disturbed Krishna, asking him to do so many things for me. But I did not do anything for Krishna's happiness. And Draupadi only called Krishna when there was a problem. So now Arjun understood the position of the saint. But the sadhus are very merciful. Krishna requested him, "Please forgive Arjun and Draupadi." And the sadhu immediately forgave. Now, where Bhagavad Gita ends, the Srimad Bhagavatam begins. And really, that's where we wanted to go next. We probably have a break of about a week or two because next week is Radha Astami. So we've done a lot of philosophy. We wanted to look at some of the Leela and some of the pastimes of the Lord's most confidential devotees. Not that we want to imitate them, but we just want to have a little glimpse into the spiritual world. So maybe for the next 10 to 14 or maybe 7 to 10 days, we'll have a look at the different pastimes of these wonderful devotees like Radha and Lalita and Vishaka and the Manjaris. After that, we were thinking again to look at the Bhagavatam. And the Bhagavatam is so important. And I'll give you just one example. Prahlad Maharaj. He was alone. He was harassed to an extent which we will never be able to understand or appreciate. He was a little boy. His own father wanted to kill him. The father's soldiers wanted to kill him. Everybody was against him. But never once did he call out for protection of the Lord. And Prahlad Maharaj is very central to the Bhagavatam. So we want to look at the Bhagavatam because that will take us to a little bit of a different level as well. So I hope devotees can join us on that journey as well. It's a long journey because Bhagavad Gita is 700 verses. The Bhagavatam is 18,000. So it's a little bit of a journey, but it's a journey that we have to make because we want to go back to the spiritual world. And in order to do that, it's important to learn the different ways how we can improve our consciousness, our level of bhakti. Just like you can see, the level of bhakti of Arjun compared to the sadhu, completely different level. Compared to Prahlad, completely different level. So I wanted to thank all the devotees for giving us this glorious opportunity of discussing the Bhagavad Gita, presenting the Bhagavad Gita, sharing the Bhagavad Gita with you all. It's really been a fantastic pleasure. I've tried to start the Bhagavad Gita and finish it many times. We've probably succeeded a couple of times, but this has been the most relishable. And what I wanted to do for the next couple of sessions, because Bhagavad Gita doesn't end, it's not an intellectual exercise. It's an exercise to actually reform our consciousness, reform our lives. And that's why we went through all the different lessons, 75 lessons in total. And I wanted to go through some of those lessons step by step in the next 2 sessions. And then on Friday, I was been requesting Sanjana to actually summarize the whole of the Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapters. So for the next 3 days, we'll still focus on the Bhagavad Gita, how we can put it into practice into our own lives, and really make progress. Because we have to, when we read such wonderful literatures, we have to actually gain immensely from those literatures. That's the blessing of Prabhupada, blessing of our Guru. So thank you very, very much. Any questions or any comments?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I just want to, again, express my thanks for running these classes. I learned a lot, and it's been very, very good. And I've been able to, take a lot away from it and even give presentations. So, and it's all down to you and Jayanti and. So, thank you very, very much.
You're just a naturally talented person, and it's a real pleasure actually to have the wonderful devotees that we have had in this forum. I'm very grateful to the Lord for allowing us to come together like this, and especially yourself, Sanjana. It's really you're a young devotee, and it's very encouraging for me. I can see how perhaps you should be able to take. You're like the next generation. I can see you becoming a very, very good preacher of Sanatana Dharma. And certainly we would like to assist you in any way we can to, because you can see Krishna's instructions. That verse is such an important verse, 1868 and 1869, where he says, for one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, he's so dear to me, and there's no one more dear to me in this world, and there never will be. So that's always been my inspiration, I must admit, to share what we're learning.
Thanks so much for your guidance and for sharing everything.
Thank you.
And thanks to everybody else as well, actually. I've learned so much from your realizations. It's a really good group, and it's so good that we've been able to stay together for the whole 18 chapters.
That's true. That's quite rare. And I hope we continue to stay together. We're always going to be around at 4 o'clock. God willing, of course. Nothing's in our control. But, as much as we can, we'll try to continue with what we're doing. Kamakshi?
Yeah. My contribution was very little, but I think the way it was unique way of spiritual spending of time. And I think Zoom has made it able to participate and listen, and I think I thoroughly enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to the other classes you're going to hold, and God willing, as you say, be able to take more part and give a little bit of more participation. Thank you.
Your contribution's always been very focused, and it's really good, actually. Really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to, Madhusudan and myself, and Jayanti, we're going to continue as much as we can, as long as we can, and let's see where we go.
I think I'm not a very sloka person, but I just like to listen and contribute when I can.
No, thank you.
Haribol.
Thank you very much. And at some point, Sanjana will do the sort of, what was that thing, Sanjana? I've forgotten what you were going to do.
Oh, the compilation of people's feedback and reflections.
Yeah. Yes. So you can organize that with the devotees, or we can do one Zoom call perhaps where we just do that or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Anybody else? Aruna, Bhavani, any questions, any comments? Yes, Aruna?
Just thoroughly enjoyed it. Really
Thank you for your
enjoyed it.
participation.
I invested my time from 4 o'clock till the end. Worth spent. I've read the Bhagavad Gita, but this is the best way I've learned a few things. I've got a lot to learn yet. So, and I'm looking forward to the next session that we start, and always keep me in touch so I can join in. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bhavani?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, and all the Matajis and Madhusudan Prabhuji as well. So I really enjoyed and learned so many things. Although, like others said, we know Bhagavad Gita. I mean, obviously, I grew up in India, and I born into a family where, like, the chanting was there all the time. But understanding, like the explanation and how you can, like, I know the all shlokas, I can read them because I learned it. When I was a child, but understanding and how you can implement in your day-to-day life, those explanation thoroughly I understood this time. So maybe I think I should, like you said before, more you read it, every time it's something new you learn. But so far, all these sessions made me realize so many things. Thanks for giving this opportunity, and I'm looking forward for the next one. Once this school starts, I don't know how the schedule it's going to be, but whenever I can, definitely I can join. I'll join. Thank you.
No, thank you, Bhavani. Yes, of course, when the school starts, we may have to slightly adjust ourselves.
Timings, yeah.
Timings. Yeah, which is fine, because I also hopefully will be making some presentations to schools as well. So yes, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, another thing, Madhusudan Prabhuji said, yes, these things, it should be for kids. I think it's very important to, give these lessons to them so that they can be clear what they are doing, and they'll set their goals accordingly, the way they are, what exactly they are. So they learn so much. I think, yeah, that would be great, Prabhuji. Sure.
That's partly the aim of this children's sangha and the youth presentations as well. I would quite like you, Bhavani, also to do some presentations on the Bhagavad Gita, because you got a nice way of speaking as well. And when you have to make a presentation, it means you have to get involved and understand the detail a bit more, if you have time, of course, because I know with children and a job and housework, you've got 3 full-time jobs anyway.
Yeah, that's fine, Prabhuji, but whenever we can for little group children's or something, please let me know. I can help whatever I can do. Okay. I can do it for you.
Okay.
Thank
That's
you
very
anyway.
good.
Thank you.
Okay, unless there's any more comments.
No, Abhi, finally, I just want to say, thank you to Bhavani as well. She's been singing the Narsinga Kavach, and I'm beginning to also...
Karuna Bandar, that's Karuna.
There are
Yeah,
Karuna Bandar, and
yes.
A lot of times her words keep ringing in my head, the wonderful mantras. the way she sings. And like I said, this is for the younger generation as well to take on. Like Guru Maharaj always encouraged us to sort of learn the different aspects of the Bhagavad Gita and the key verses and memorize and learn them. Not very good at memorizing our old age now, you know, and we suddenly start to realize how, you know, forgetful we can become and struggle, you know. But, you know, young kids, future, they should learn this science of Bhagavad Gita, you know. And I sent you my granddaughter's little thing, you know, she's only 9 years old, but, you know, with the guidance of the Gurukul system, which is what, you know, Prabhupada wanted, you know, he wanted the Gurukul type of education where there is this distinction made in the 4 varnas and the 4 ashrams, so that, you know, we can at least have some aspect of varnashram system, but not necessarily fully fledged like it would be in Satyuga or other yugas, you know. This is Kali Yuga. So at least by being Krishna conscious, Prabhupada is helping us to transcend all these different varnas and ashrams and being Krishna conscious. So we are in a pure goodness, you know, and the intelligence gets a bit sharpened in that way. So no, I want to thank everyone, those who have participated, and this would not be the end of the Bhagavad Gita. It should be more or less the beginning.
That's right. That's
yeah.
right. I agree with that.
Beginning of putting it into our life, you know, as a practice. Yeah.
That's right. And I think next 2 days, two sessions, let's go through the lessons and see if we remember the themes and what was Krishna saying. It's a good sort of revision as well.
Yeah, and how we can implement that,
implement
different
into our
aspects
life.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Very
Very good. Very
okay.
good.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we can go to the Nishinga Kavach.